Welcome to the Top Corner Podcast. Today's host is Julian. Julian, how are you doing today?
Julian's very tired. Julian just did the intro twice.
Yeah.
So we're good to go. What was that? Maybe 5 minutes wasted? Not a big deal. So let's get into this Jadon Sancho thing again, because it's all that anybody's talking about, and it's pretty ridiculous overall. I think that he's been given bad advice from someone very close to him. I think that a family member, maybe a sibling or a friend that's in the immediate circle that does benefit from their person in the sport playing at the top level, kind of giving them whatever they want to hear at certain points, and that's dangerous. Tough love is a good thing, and he's obviously not listening to anybody in the organization. Yeah. Because the people in the organization are benefiting whether Sancho plays or not. Whereas if you're listening to only family and friends, they're inclined to tell you what you want to hear. Yeah. Because they're not leeching off of you. That's not what I'm saying. But some people will say that, and some family members in the past in other sports have. Definitely. They've bled their family athlete dry because they know that they have the finances to do so. Yeah. And again, I'm not saying that's the point. That's what's happening here. But he's obviously been given some advice to inflate his ego and kind of make him feel like he's someone that he's not yet. Not saying that he couldn't be, but Erik ten Hag also cut Ronaldo loose for attempting to lay out that he is bigger than the club. And if Ronaldo can't get away with it, and we have plenty to criticize with Ten Hag, managerially speaking. The team is in bad form, but also so are the tactics, so are the formations, the substitutions. Like what he seems to be doing doesn't seem to be working. So even though he does have a good track record of nipping that kind of ego issue early, he's not handling that situation as good as he did the first time across the board. The entire team is not doing what they did then.
I know in the days of Sir Alex Ferguson, he's going to cut you loose. Yeah, he doesn't care.
100%.
But another thing is, and this is what a lot of people say, but the difference is that you as a coach, as a mentor, you have the responsibility of being the guy to whom these players look up to. So you cannot just go online and say things like that. And I understand, but saying that
things like that you're talking about.
I'm talking about what he said
about why Sancho wasn't playing.
Yes, you can't just say that out like that. Yeah, you could have said something else why he's not playing, but you can't say his performance and all this whatnot. Because people have feelings. But I understand Sancho, and I don't. Yeah. So I would say this, right? As a player who wants to play. So he obviously he's hurt, and that's why he goes on social media and just lashes out. But as a 23 years old, you haven't proven anything big in terms of your career in football, in terms of you as a player. So the best thing you can do, especially at this moment and this point of your life, because this could be potentially I would say probably a career fall down, or could slow your career. Could be. So what I would do is just put my head down, work out, try to do the best, and prove the manager wrong.
Yeah, I mean, he had all of the reason to be just as mad as he was. I'm not saying that he didn't. Both of them, it's so funny. It's like Tweedledee and Tweedledum. Like what they thought in the circumstances, and even what they said out loud, were the right things. They just said them to the wrong people. Yeah. Don't go online. Everything that Ten Hag said about Sancho, one, he should have been saying to him in training anyway. Yes. Sancho should have been hearing this for months, and more than likely he was, which is probably why Sancho all of a sudden is like, "What the fuck, man? We've been struggling to make this thing work for months, and now all of a sudden you're actually answering questions." Yeah. In a way that does impact me and the public's perception of me and my confidence overall. Sancho should have taken everything that he said on social media and went to Erik ten Hag and just said, "Hey, that made me feel like you were casting off our club's lack of success on me." Those conversations, everything that was said should have been said just in a private room with the people that are being paid by the club to perform these tasks, not people like you and me that we commentate on the events on news, but we don't need to know all of that straight from those sources. Like a lot of those things, professionally speaking, they just don't need to be said out loud for us. If we get a hold of the news in some way, that's one thing. But like, what does the manager of, not even arguably at this point, one of the 3 biggest clubs in the world, what does he actually benefit from? What does he think his team benefits from saying any of that? And then the player, what does the player think is going to happen when they say that? Like, am I going to start next week? No, you're not going to start next week, man. You're not even training with the squad anymore. Like, everyone that did these things, like, there was no reasonable way to assume that there would have been a good outcome from anybody speaking up like they did. I just don't get it at all.
Well, from a player's perspective, the only thing that's left right now is for you to work hard, because at this point in time, his value could potentially go down, that's true. And I think if he had a club on hands now, he would have gone there. But that's because there's no club that's really interested in him at this moment.
They bought him for, especially on the wages that he's on, and that's a big, that's an obvious thing that's going to be adjusted wherever he goes, because he will go somewhere else. So obviously, we're not pretending that he's just going to disappear. But
yeah, definitely.
He was bought by United for $70 million, right?
Mm-hmm.
What's he going to go for now?
That's a good question.
30?
I don't think he's worth. Probably 30.
Because he still is 23.
Yeah.
And you look at,
he has good potential coming.
It is frustrating watching, especially like if you watch his highlight packages or if you watched him play in full matches when he was at Dortmund. That player, it's very Kai Havertz like. The player's in there. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, it's captured on footage. It exists. It exists in the world. It's not Bigfoot, where the capturing of the footage is speculative or anything. But like, he's not been performing any way like he did then. But you look at the style of play, United don't play that way.
Yeah.
It's the same thing as Kai Havertz. Like, you want that quick guy with the quick layoff passes right behind the striker like he was at Leverkusen. So instead, at Chelsea, you moved Havertz up to striker, where he has no one to feed the ball to.
Yeah.
And then you wonder why he's ineffective.
Yeah, that's true.
Same thing here. I mean, like, they're just not playing the same kind of style. He's getting no service from the midfield. That midfield is completely detached, and we'll get to that when we talk about the game. But like,
yeah,
I'm not even a big supporter really, because he's not given much of anything to support, especially because I don't like the club. But being objective, because I don't.
Yeah.
Being objective, you can still look at players in clubs that you don't like and acknowledge that they're playing very well. He's not playing very well. He's not very energetic, whereas he was a very energetic player at Dortmund.
Yeah.
And so it's partly the system, and it's partly a lack of motivation. Like, teammates have gotten a bit more public about how he is just he's very lazy in training, very Eden Hazard-like, but even Eden Hazard had like 4 years of being one of the best players on the planet. So like,
you gotta
prove
yourself.
Sancho thinks he's bigger than the club, and I guess we missed those 3 or 4 years where he was Eden Hazard, so he can take off easy in training. Because that was also the story in training at Chelsea at the time, was the players had no problem saying that he was a lazy trainer because he showed up on game day and did everything that he needed to do and then some. And that's the difference. Sometimes you can slack off in training. Everybody knows that Messi is not as hard of a trainer as Ronaldo.
Yeah.
In terms of the day-to-day practices. That's been discussed. But it doesn't seem to take away from him on game day. So it doesn't really matter. You train as hard as you need to play as well as you can on the weekends.
On game day, you better show off and show out. So that's about it.
And if some players need to work, 110% to do that, and they should. No one's saying that you, like, because someone else gets to work at 80% that you don't. No. They can do that.
Yeah.
That's okay. It's objective. It's not a subjective art form or craft. It's like, no. Like, you are either as fast as that person, you are as skilled as that person. Like, these things are easily quantifiable against each other.
Now, what do you think about the Paul Pogba situation?
So,
what went wrong?
Something similar to Jadon Sancho, I think. Lazy trainer.
Yeah.
And I can't remember the last time that I watched him play. Perhaps in the 2018 World Cup.
I think 2018 was the last time you seen Pogba at that level of good.
Yeah, well, and it's like, it's not for. I do think that he's had some very curious directions in his career in terms of he's gone to 2 different clubs at the wrong time.
Yeah, definitely.
When he was at Juventus before he moved to United, they were very good. Champions League runner-up. He goes to United at probably one of the worst times to be going to United.
Yes.
Played very poorly. Overall, he had good moments, especially early on. You think you're like, okay, this is going to work out. And then he goes back to Juventus at a horrible time for Juventus, one of the worst that they've had in the last 20 or 30 years.
Yeah.
And it's at one point when he was in his first round of Juventus, he was one of the best midfielders in the world. It was like him, Mesut Ozil, Toni Kroos, Luka Modric. Like that was a very short hand. He was up there in that list, and he's nowhere near it now.
No.
And you just have to ask, how many years? Because I don't think he'll get the full suspension. Because for the full suspension,
4 years ban. Well, I think they said he has to prove, because he failed the drug test, but he had to provide a backup sample or something like that.
That you always have to have a backup sample.
Yeah.
And I think that, like, what did I read? If the first sample tests positive, they don't need to test the second one.
Okay.
But if the first one tests negative, they'll still test the other one as an attempt to see if there's something wrong with the system. Now, he will be suspended, obviously. For it to be 4 years, it needs to be something along the lines of long-term intent. Something that he had set up for himself to be continuing, and more than likely was potentially doing beforehand, which that I don't believe. In other sports, generally speaking, and again, this is very general, the ones that were on performance-enhancing drugs were ones that were at the very, very top.
Yeah.
Trying to get to that next unattainable level. John Jones in the UFC, like already one of the best of all time on paper, but then using those substances to get to that next level. And Pogba's nowhere close to being at the top. So like, what would you benefit from?
Well,
You're
I
not
think
even playing. You played 2 matches.
Do you not think because of the frustration of being on bench, being injured and trying to come back, so you're trying to enhance yourself so you can come back quick as possible?
The only surprise in that,
play at that level.
The only surprise in that is I'm surprised he cares that much. I haven't seen him care about anything really. I haven't seen him play much anyway. Like it's just like there's no way. I feel like talking about being public, like Sancho. Paul Pogba strikes me as one that would have been public about, like, not like I want to play, I blame the manager, he should start me, but like I don't see anything of like sort of laying it out to your fans that you really do want to start playing again, that you really want to, like, you don't have to criticize the manager's decisions.
Yeah.
And again, back to the Sancho thing for like 1 second, you are allowed to say, I do want more playing time. Obviously, you're a human being, you're allowed to say that. The problem is when it goes, I want more playing time. Here's what the manager's doing wrong. Here's why I can't get the time. That's what you can't do. But like where is Paul Pogba going of like, I really want to get back in? Like, it just seems like he's kind of okay.
Well, one thing with Pogba is as soon as he made that move to United, I never liked it. There was one reason, because United at the time, and still is not great, not playing good football. Pogba is a highly attacking midfield, and he's a lazy defending midfielder. To get the best of Pogba, you also have to have a really good CGM. You have to have someone that's really good at controlling that space in the defending midfield or holding.
Yeah.
And that's why he was good at Juventus, right? You had Pirlo behind. You go to when they play the World Cup. You have N'Golo Kante, the man that made himself.
One of the best French squads.
So he doesn't. When you have these guys, he doesn't really have to care about defense. He has the whole attack up into him. Then he can do all his threading pass through, all these low passes, and even shooting. But going at Manchester United, I think changing his position, and some players are not fluid. You can't just change them.
Yeah.
Although we live in the age where a player is supposed to play at least 2 or 3 positions.
You have to adapt.
Yeah, you have to. But there are some players that they cannot. And you just got to understand how to play. So I think from there his downfall came, not having enough game, not playing his position because he's super lazy. You demanding extra from him in defending. Yeah. He's not going to defend.
No.
Then with all the bull crap that's been happening to him this year, extortion from his brother, witchcraft and whatnot.
Yeah. I'm kind of glad that we weren't doing a podcast when that situation happened, because like I don't know what the fuck that was. That was ridiculous.
Oh,
man.
That's different.
That was ridiculous.
It's like voodoo.
Yeah, it's just like
But then you
struggling to find content to talk about around that one.
And then you have this 4-year ban on your doorstep. So I definitely think that hopefully he gets back to a repeatable situation or something.
It won't be a 4 year
in that line.
I can see it being 2. Here's the question then, and then I guess we'll wrap up the Paul Pogba discussion.
Yeah.
How many years suspension of the 4 would mean that if he gets the suspension, his career is over?
Ooh, I think even because now he's he was at the last game. He didn't play, but he was looking like he almost recovered from injuries, right? If you give him more than 6 months, you're killing Pogba at this level, at this point of time, because he has to get back to the level where he used to play, and that would take a while because you have to play, you have to understand about your mechanics, body mechanics, the feel. You haven't played professionally in a while, so you have to get back there.
Well, and then his top level to get back to it, we'll say, hell, that's almost 10 years ago.
Yeah.
2014, 15, like it's 2023 now.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't personally think that that's going to happen regardless. Let's say he gets 0 suspension, which won't happen. If he starts training again hard right this second, he'll never get back to
he's
that particular
30
level.
in this age where players play until 38 now. It's not more back in the days, and I think that
the great players play that long.
Well, I think playing Juventus is depending on how they play the game or how the philosophy of the club is at the moment. But I think that if he has at least a good year with no injuries, so I'm talking about 2024, 2025 would be good for him.
Yeah.
But that's and only if he has a good.
And I get what you're saying about the playing till 37, 38. And again, that's the example of like Modric and Cruz.
Yeah.
And what Pogba maybe had 2 years, maybe 3, where he was playing at that level that they were at. And he didn't anymore. He didn't before, he didn't after. I would say that's probably done. So how long into the suspension would you say before there's just no chance in him playing in Europe again? Could you see him getting 2 years, coming back at 32?
No.
And making some sort of bid for like a lower level Spanish club or something?
I think after 2 years, he's going to be done. And I think
Saudi Arabia?
He did a recent interview, but I don't know. I think if they give him 2 years, he's retiring. Or he's might go to Saudi Arabia. But I don't know.
A Saudi Arabia kind of player.
I don't know if when you ban from football, he will be allowed to play. So the best potential solution for him was just retiring and focusing on, I don't know what he will be doing, but that's probably it.
More witchcraft. Figuring out what the hell to do with his brother.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Hopefully. So what about you mentioned the Reece James situation, but I'm reading that's nothing new of an interest from Real Madrid. Well, was it Real Madrid?
Yeah. They seem to have been consistently interested.
Yeah.
But have not taken the big steps forward to get it done. But like they've not been afraid to say that they are interested in him, because why wouldn't they be? Because Carvajal's getting older.
Yeah.
But also, is that and I think Chelsea's learning it the hard way, is that someone that you structure your first team around? I don't think so. He can't stay healthy that long.
No, somebody fits in the system.
He's a good fluid player that kind of comes in, not just for cup games, but someone that comes off the bench, or someone that you're not expecting to put in all 90 minutes. Because for some reason, and it's a bummer, because when he is healthy, he is a very, very, very good player.
But he seems injury prone.
He does.
And a club like Real Madrid, that's not going to cut it. No. It's going to be difficult.
If they had the choice between, who would you pick then to replace Carvajal if you were Real Madrid?
Yeah, that's a tough one. I will have to look.
I think Hakimi might be one of the top.
Ooh, yeah.
Great pace, good cross in, but he doesn't seem too injury prone, and he's probably willing to get rid of PSG as soon as possible.
Yeah, Hakimi will fit right in that system. Mm-hmm. But you put Hakimi in that team, that's a deadly team.
That is a deadly team. But so Reece James, again, and he just signed a 6-year contract in 2022. So he's locked down at Chelsea for a long time. To buy that contract off of him, that's going to be more money than they're willing to spend. Hell, half that team is signed to 8-year contracts. It's hilarious. And that's just a little bit of business that, again, in January it might pick up. Yeah. Especially if Carvajal picks up an injury at some point between now and January, they might spend money that they weren't willing to spend at first, but also there are better options out there in terms of maintaining or guaranteeing that you are getting what you need from that player for that price tag.
Yeah.
And again, that's no fault to Reece James. It's no one's fault that they're injury prone.
That is true.
Because he is a hard worker. When you watch him play, even if he doesn't have a great day, it's not from lack of trying.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it is always a bummer when you see those players kind of go down from injury, as opposed to lazy players or ones that play recklessly. He's a very attacking, very aggressive player, but he's not reckless. He just seems to have some bad luck with his legs at the moment. So all right, let's move on to Kyle Walker's contract extension.
Yeah, I like the announcement. He came in like Wolf of Wall Street, Leonardo DiCaprio, and said he's not leaving.
He's not leaving.
How about that?
So he'll retire there, right? He'll retire there. That's what
I think. That's what it looks
like.
I feel like that. Yeah, because he's getting to that point. I mean, 33?
32, 33.
And the extension, I think he's just gonna retire then,
Yeah, and he'll probably spend either the last year or so, or maybe they'll do kind of what they've done before, not City, but just in general, where you extend for another year or two, and the player knows that they're not going to play, but they're training with the first team squad. They're in the locker room.
Yeah.
They might come on for some time, but like that captain that doesn't play much, the locker room captain, basically.
He's still fast though. It's weird because I feel like the left backs don't stay a lot at the at the top of their game, but their lifespan in the field or in the pitch as a football player, it's not that long.
Yeah,
especially in this. Well, it's always been like that, but in this new era of football, it's even because you have all these inverted fullbacks. You have to overlap. You have to come down. You have to defend. So they don't seem to last that long in the game. Even as fast as you can be as a fullback, you still don't last that long.
And I think that's because they are creating this sort of hybrid role where there's just more stress on the body, making players do things that previous generations didn't have to do, or combining certain skill sets to where you're also playing more games.
Yeah.
In the last couple of years. So I can see the demand on the bodies now just from not only playing time, but asking all of these players to do things that are traditionally outside of their position skill set, that it's just a wear and tear on the body. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel that. Well, this weekend was really exciting. I enjoyed some good game. I actually enjoyed the Inter Milan versus AC Milan game. But let's talk about Man United versus Brighton. And I will address the elephant in the room. I think there's a real problem at United.
Is there now?
From the president to the coaching staff to the coach to the team.
No way.
When they play, you can tell how they play. There's a lack of willing to even play. They're not enthusiastic.
Right.
They jog around.
Right when you said that, McTominay was nowhere to be found. He was up near the wing.
Yeah.
Casemiro was the only guy running someone down with his pace.
Oh my goodness.
And we've talked about that for weeks now. That midfield is so disconnected that they're having to talk to each other on phone lines. That's how far away they feel.
Yeah.
And no one in that, if you're going to have that disjointed of a midfield and look like,
I'm telling you,
what is Martinez doing so high?
I watched the game.
That's ridiculous. That's embarrassing.
It was not fun. So first of all, I think there's a real problem, and they have to solve it. I think it stems back from internal problems to external problem, and what we see is the reflection of what is actually going in, because we have players that when you watch them play, you feel sorry for yourself, and I feel sorry for the fans because there's a lack of. They're not even enthusiastic. They're lazy on the pitch. They don't even make the runs, and sometimes they look so defeated. They just allow the play. It's like, oh, let it be. It is what it is.
You allow your team to get so discouraged until your captain Bruno Fernandes makes a dangerous tackle because he's pissed off, and then he complains about it.
And Bruno Fernandes, man, that's crazy because this dude is supposed to be somewhat of the technical player in terms of relaying passes, in terms of making the plays. But that game, all the passes were off. It seems like he was just passing it just for the sake of passing the ball. not even having a player or a target to which he's passing the ball.
And that's one time that I don't blame him, because if you look at where the rest of the midfield was, what else can he do?
That's true.
And like, I mean, don't get me wrong, like in theory, on paper, you'd rather hold on to the ball and maintain possession than struggle to find passes. But at the same time, are there certain points when you don't mind a player saying, screw it, I've got to do something. I've got to do, because at least he's not just trying to get the ball away from him. He's trying to make something happen, and he sees that there's nothing developing.
Yeah.
What, like, do you get mad at him for not trying, or trying to force where it doesn't fit if nothing's fitting? You know what I mean?
That's how I felt about Rashford. I know a lot of people.
He's a hard worker, man.
It's like, he has this thing, right? Poor decision making, and
selfish and stubborn.
And holding the ball for too long when there's clearly an open player to whom he can play the ball.
And he's always had that problem. He's gotten better at a lot of other things.
But that's his problem.
That's the one.
But I feel like the problem really shows itself or maximized, or even it's much greater when the game seems to not be working in their way.
Yep.
Because he feels like he has to do something at some point. But
he thinks that it always has to be what he has to do, as opposed to, I might need to get the ball to someone else.
Yeah, that's why you have Haaland. I mean, Haaland was screaming
he looks good
for the ball. He wanted the ball. Yeah. And there was a lot of plays where if he had just either cut back or just pass it to whoever was open, and Haaland was creating the spaces. And Haaland he's promising. I think if they can play, that's what, in my opinion, I think United has the team.
Yes.
They have the team. Their players seem to not want to play. Yeah. And that's why I'm saying the problem is not on the pitch. Yeah. First of all, although there's some that you can fix, because you have players committing too high when they cannot get back. Casemiro, sometimes I saw him jogging, and Brighton, the players were just going around, and this dude was jogging on the pitch, and I was like, oh. So although they have that problem, but it seems like the problem is actually, there's a bigger problem than what we see, and we see what they produce every week, in and out. It
appears same tactical.
Situation. Yeah,
that's why the midfield seems so in disarray. It's not just like they're not zonally marking where they need to be.
Yeah.
They're all, and like the midfield just leaves channels wide open. You have players in the midfield that are drifting up to help the attack.
Yeah.
That don't have the pace to recover on transition or from a counter. And it's really frustrating watching Dalot play well.
Dalot's playing.
He looks
actually,
very
I said
good.
Dalot, Reguilon, and Haaland. I think these guys
looks very good. And I do think that Rashford and
played
Højlund
good.
They need to work on their communication together, because Rashford was holding on to too many options.
Too many, yeah.
But if he knows when to let go, and Højlund just kind of keeps doing what he's doing.
I think he's good. They just have to work out how they play together, right? They have to synchronize. They have to complement each other. And Rashford has to play the role of a passer. It's not, he has to start doing playmaking for Højlund, and they will win. I mean, there's
he's
a lot
not a striker anymore.
Yeah,
he needs to work on playmaking. You like the left wing, okay? There's a lot more playmaking than goal scoring on the wing.
Yeah.
Were you ready for that? Because you were saying that you were. And can we talk about, there are two other things that I really want to talk about here. And I understand when someone has a bad game and people say, oh, what so-and-so's overrated, so-and-so's in the mud or whatever. Can we finally start talking about how underperforming Martinez is?
Yeah.
And no one wanted to listen to it I wasn't impressed last season either.
But he had an assist in the game.
Say what?
He had an assist in the game, didn't he?
He had an okay season. He did not warrant a lot of the praise that he got.
Yeah.
And then I understand if someone has a bad run of games, if they produced well before, that you don't go, you go, okay, like lay off, it's okay, don't he did not play well enough last year to hold off criticism for this long.
Yeah.
People are just now talking about it. He was standing in the middle of that defense, watching the ball go by like the shortest redwood tree that I've ever seen in my life. It was ridiculous. What are you doing? Has his hands behind his back, just turning his head, watching the ball go by, make a play. It doesn't help that Lindelof is on ice skates next to him. That duo is awful. That duo makes
Lindelof and Martinez.
and don't get me wrong, Martinez is better than Lindelof. I'm not saying that he's not. Lindelof in the squad makes Martinez exceptionally worse.
where is Matt? Who can they even replace at the? Who can they put at place of either Martinez, even John Evans?
They have Johnny Evans and they have Harry Maguire. That's what I'm saying. Like, they don't have, like, I don't know why they brought Johnny Evans in. So, and like, especially to come back to United.
I don't know that team. But when you watch the game, the first 15 to 20 minutes was really good. When Danny Welbeck kept dropping in the middle field, dropping deep to outnumber in the midfield, right? You had Casemiro trying to man mark him, forcing him out of the field. Yeah. So it was difficult for them to build. But at some point, Casemiro, he lost track of the player. I didn't even know who he was supposed to man mark anymore. And man, Adingra, the Ivorian, I think he's Ivorian, and Lamptey on those wings with Mitoma.
Yeah.
Well, deadly.
Lamptey's
I was so happy for Welbeck. Yeah. So happy. Scoring against United.
Well, and Brighton, right. And Brighton is getting that performance out of Lamptey, who is a backup for Estupiñán. Like, not even your main.
I think they're missing four players, right?
Yeah. Yes, they are missing that many. I think they said
6 they had for international break.
They had 6 different people in the squad than they normally do this time.
Yeah.
I don't know if all of them were due to the international break, but like, I know that there were 6 changes to the starting lineup. I think 4 of them were because they weren't fit enough to play or something like that.
And you have to kudos to the coach, it was De Zerbi, and the coaching staff, because to seeing players that are not usually playing regulars, because your star or your main players are not playing, and they getting on the pitch and producing the same result as if they were in the starting 11 for that long, means the coaching staff and the coaches
everybody knows that system. Yeah, everyone knows that system inside and out.
So
it's amazing. Really fast. Can we talk about because I mentioned it, where a player can be a certain level of quality and have a bad run of games, and it's excusable. At what point do you start saying maybe it wasn't just that system worked very well for them? Maybe they don't have. There were 3 saves that I think Onana should have had.
Oh, wow!
He had 3 saves where his fingers got to the ball, and there's a saying in American football: as a receiver, if you can touch the ball, you can catch it.
You can catch it.
So there were several opportunities that he had some relative, all things considered.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, your midfield's in shambles.
Yeah.
Your back line is a joke. You're watching people get unmarked and drifting into space. And so what that does is that pulls you to find the centralmost location to where you can close down as many channels as possible. And a lot of times it leaves you hanging out to dry. He did have 3 big saves that he could have made if he was the player that they, at this point, and it can just be form.
Yeah.
But if he was, they brought him in to make those saves, and he did not make those, and he's not been performing that well at the back. But also, and like I just said, your keeper places himself between the center backs to close down channels. If they're all over the place, there's not too much that you can do, but he is a long-armed, athletic guy. If there is a guy that's going to be able to stretch out and make these hard to,
that will be him.
That's truly what they brought him in for. But really fast, there were 2 or 3 of those moments where Martinez was running up into the midfield, like to the point where Bruno's been playing, and gets burnt on the counterattack. That's half of your blocking scheme to close down these passing channels is gone.
Yeah.
So I'm not blaming Onana, but I'm saying, like, when can we start saying part of the problem is the goalkeeping form in letting this become 3-1.
Yeah.
It very well should have been
at least 2-1 or 1-1.
They deserve to lose.
Yeah.
But I do think that he needed 1 or 2 of those saves. I really do.
Yeah. He could have saved at least one of them, which I'm not disagreeing with that. But when the team and the defense is that dysfunctional, it becomes really difficult for a keeper to save anything that was going to be saved. And it's not. This is different from a team not being at the level of the opponent. Because when it's the team not being at the level of the opponent, and there's another game we can talk about it, the West Ham City, right?
Yeah.
But their team is so dysfunctional. So I want to say Onana should have had like you said 3, but I would say at least the score could have been 2-1.
Yeah. Well, I was saying that he had 3 where he touched the ball. Of those, try to save 1.
Yeah.
But it's
so
also
it's so difficult, you know.
It's a very thankless position as well. When you give a world-class performance, people tend to go, well, yeah, he should be stopping the ball. And then when you have very close misses, you're the first one to get torched. Like it's like they expect you to play world-class, and when you don't, they think that you're awful.
Yeah.
And so I'm just thinking that, you know, he's also not really able to use much of his skill set.
No, I mean
they want to play from the back and have him be very mobile. They don't have anyone that can do that.
They can't do that because the team cannot even do that. They can't execute on it. They can't build from the back. They can't be as technical in the back.
Yeah.
To provide all these beautiful plays that we've seen. They cannot actually use Onana to the full.
They don't have
to the potential.
A Bastoni back there with a little bit of more quickness at all.
So it's like West Ham City, right? If you watch the game 3-1 and West Ham held its own. And I told you guys, and I've been telling this, and I will say it again. Top 6.
No.
Top
it's
6.
Over. It's over. No.
What do you mean it's over?
I'm gonna post that tonight.
I'm
gonna post
West Ham will finish this season top 6. And I would say they played very well. They was just outmatched. And the team City, it's a deadly team. I'm actually scared for people in the Champions League.
They absolutely, like, West Ham played well, but they smothered them with 68% possession.
Yeah. Now look at this, right? Areola did a lot. He saved a lot. If it wasn't for Areola, they probably would have finished like 5-1 or what. But that's the difference, right? The difference between this and someone like Onana and United is this team is playing good. They're just not on the level of City.
Yeah.
You know.
And Lucas Paqueta was a little quiet.
Yeah.
As one of their standout players, he didn't do everything that he was supposed to do. Kudus still not there.
Yes.
James Ward-Prowse, like, does James Ward-Prowse deserve a big 6 move at some point, soon?
Yeah.
Should someone pick him up soon?
He's been doing good, but I will let him develop again. He got a good year.
Yeah.
If he continues to be at that level, this year, I think he will be leaving West Ham pretty soon. He's playing very good.
It's the most Manchester City thing where you look at Haaland, you look at the highlights of the day, and you go, man, it was not his day. He was missing a ton of opportunities, but he still bags a goal.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It's just like you
because this is a goal scoring machine.
Yeah. I mean, because he had, I think, 5 or 6 missed opportunities that would looked like they should have gone in, and on another day would have gone in.
Yeah.
So, you know, he gets that late goal, and you're just like, up to that point, you're like, man, like Haaland is just not getting it done today.
Yeah.
And he still bags a fucking goal.
He had 9 shots. So
yeah.
And Doku was the man of the match.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, Doku, that
he looked really good.
He's great.
Really, like on
that
Haaland,
left flank.
The funny thing about Haaland was when he scored that goal in the 85th minute, of all the opportunities and chances that he had, that was by far the hardest one.
Yeah, that's true.
He cuts back across and he sends the shot in, like slashes it across the face of goal in a very tight angle in a way that he doesn't score those kinds of goals most of the time. All the big diving taps and little poke-ins, like he missed all of those on that day. And you're just like, damn, he just does not have what it takes today.
Yeah.
And then he scores a goal that he's not used to scoring. You're just like, whatever, man. You're just going to score regardless of what happens to you.
You know what I'm thinking? City has depth.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing,
not as much as they used to. But
not as much as they used to.
It's still surprising.
But the
how much
difference, right, of this city, which probably in mid-season I will try to compare which city is the best city, because the difference with this city is the goal scoring is not just coming from one person.
Yeah.
Doku had a great game. He scored, and he could make someone score, or Silva scored and assisted. Right.
Yep.
The other thing is that their wings this year are really technical.
Yeah.
Because most of the plays for City usually comes from the middle because they build with KDB, you know. But now
and they're having to figure it out because he's not there.
Yeah.
And Foden is still distributing the ball, but it's much more. He's not afraid to be more lateral.
Yeah.
To get the ball out.
Look at what Pep Guardiola did with Alvarez. You know, hey, you're a good striker, but what about if I could bring the other thing in you, which is your technical play, your playmaking ability. So I'll put you behind someone that will most of the time finish whatever you start.
Yep. Which is that's bold too, which means that he obviously thinks very highly of Alvarez, because when he did get playing time last season, he would come on late.
Yeah.
And he was just a pure striker. Yeah. And he made some great goals. What he didn't do that much was create chances, creatively distribute the ball. Like those are things that Guardiola has obviously seen in training.
Yeah.
But not in game time. So it's very interesting to see a story like that, and then you start theorizing. You're like, wow, well, what else does Pep kind of experiment with? What else does he do, getting these players that he knows does one thing very, very, very well, and say, okay, well, let's kind of reshape you. That's what makes a good coach. But if you ask other coaches, if they were to bring Julian Alvarez in, they're not going to train with him like that. They're going to train for him to be a pure number 9 because it's what they've seen him do. But yeah, just taking the time and the patience to hone a completely new skill set for a player.
That's why is great. I always liked Mourinho. And when we talk about Pogba when Mourinho was training and trying to make him defensive, I feel like if he had applied himself, he probably would have get that skill set out of him. Mm-hmm. But also that's because Pogba, I think, a little bit of the laziness.
Too much fun in the locker room.
Yeah, because I remember Samuel Eto'o said one thing. He said, Pep Guardiola is one of the best managers. But if you want a manager that would take a security guard and say, hey, today you play striker, it's going to be Mourinho.
That's funny.
And that's why you would say a lot of teams that he coaches, he shuffled players around. Like you knew this player as a left back. When Mourinho comes in, suddenly this guy is a CDM now. It's a holding midfield, and he plays great. So,
whereas Pep seems to, and it doesn't take anything away because he does need some of the world's best players in positions to get the most of them. That doesn't take anything away from what he does, because what he does is win.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
All I do is win.
It's not. It's not a big thing to say that, but yeah, like it takes someone with the skill set of Alvarez for him to turn him into an attacking midfielder. He might not be able to do that in the MLS.
Yeah,
say like he does need and always has had the privilege of having great squads around him always. But then you still have to make good decisions. You can't just allow an expensive, high quality squad. You can't just have a manager that worked at Walmart to come in. You need someone to come in. So it's completely different skill sets. Him and Mourinho.
Yeah, as the top league, I feel like Alvarez would turn into a solid false nine.
Yeah, it's like you start watching him play. You're like, well, now does he stay at City? And now, especially after this season, if he keeps doing this, where does he go? And then what are they bringing him in for?
Yeah.
Because last season it was obvious. They're bringing someone in as a striker. If he leaves, he's a striker through and through. Now all of a sudden these clubs still want him. Yeah. His value's increasing. Where are you going to play him?
Or what can he accomplish if he stays at City?
Yeah, and that's the thing as well. Like you assume that someone's going to try to come after him.
Yeah. And
you assume that at the right price point that City lets them go. That's any club ever. If the price is right, you let anybody go. But I wouldn't be wanting to I wouldn't want to let him go.
Yeah, I too. So Inter Milan versus Milan, I enjoyed the game.
Very surprising score. Very surprising score.
I would say this: in Serie A, presently, Inter Milan is their best team.
Oh, for sure.
And you said, I remember you were saying, "Oh, Inter Milan, they played this boring game." How did you like the game?
So
this game wasn't boring.
They are definitely tailoring. One, Mkhitaryan had a wild game. He's amazing. I do.
At his age,
I wish that he had done a tiny bit of that at Arsenal. That'd have been fine with me. No, you can tell that they're obviously changing a lot of the play style to focus on Thuram's physicality and pace.
Yeah,
100%. If they still had Edin Dzeko or something like that playing up at the top, it wouldn't be a thing. Or Lukaku with his pace. No, they are definitely rearranging how they play the game to accommodate for him, and it's working.
Yeah.
They look very impressive, to the point now where in these Champions League matchups and in the future of Serie A, where they're going to play Juventus and they're going to play Napoli, I'm not going to dread watching them play. I like watching them play at the moment. Yeah. And Thuram is definitely at the spearhead of why they are so entertaining right now.
Yeah.
And effective.
Inter Milan, what's that called? Inzaghi, doing a great job. You have 5 players in the midfield, so they're playing a 3-5-2, right? And they play this style of game where Dumfries and DiMarco can really, and you can only do that if the players are really fast enough and has enough in the tank. So you will see Dumfries
and be able to get back as well.
Dumfries will get back at some time, and he's so fast at getting back. Before you realize it, he is back.
Yeah,
it's like Kyle Walker, but the difference is he's really he's like Davies too. But the difference is that he defends. Yeah, that's the scariest part.
Yeah.
And when he attacks.
Yeah.
So
although Davies had a couple of good defensive moments in the game.
Yeah,
against Leverkusen. We'll talk about that.
Yeah,
but he would come back, and like I always laugh about that. Because we talk about how comedically fast he can be at times, and he just comes flying back on defense and actually did something with it. And I was like, that's good, but no, Dumfries does.
No, Dumfries is
he's
and
definitely more
it's a whole truck. So somebody like that running at his defending, attacking, and it's really beautiful the way Inzaghi is doing this with the I'll call what the wing backs, the back wing. Yeah, that's basically. And Thuram is amazing. That goal was spectacular.
The one at 5 minutes.
Yeah,
where he walks past Chow. Chow's like on the ground. Chow is on the ground, and behind him, Theo Hernandez goes to ground. Like there was a sniper in the building. And so like who's opening fire on this AC Milan team? They just keep falling on the ground.
Yeah,
it's wild. He just walked past them like they weren't even
One thing I think they should look at is counterattacks, because like if you see Rafael Leao goal, he basically beat Damian, and I think Damian was the kind of by himself. So they gotta watch out, because playing with a team like City is not gonna cut it. Because
most of these goals today on both sides were from counterattacks.
Counterattacks, yeah. So
AC Milan were eaten alive by long passes over the top.
I'm just liking the way their wings are playing too. And Mkhitaryan had a phenomenal goal. The third goal was really amazing. The off-ball movement to draw the defense to one side, while Mkhitaryan gave this. I think he passed it to, who was that? Who scored the third goal? I think it was.
Was it the 66th, the 68th minute?
Yes.
Handoff from Dumfries. Well,
No. Actually, I think Martinez. There was a pass to Mkhitaryan, and Mkhitaryan scores the goal.
Yeah.
But the off-ball movement, was very good, because the third and fifth goal, it was kind of the same. It was based on off-ball movement, drawing the defense on one side and scoring on the other side. So I like this team. I'm really interested to see what they will be doing in the UCL.
Well, and it also worked in their favor, the fact that AC Milan seemed to completely forget any sort of zonal marking. They were so tied down to man marking that you were watching these passing lanes open.
Oh, yeah.
And they seem to think, especially in the midfield, I've got my guy covered, we're good. And all it takes is one step through or one little burst of pace to get behind the defender, and all of a sudden that lockdown forward is now on the ball 2 yards ahead of you with options.
Yeah.
Because you all were basically just trying to stand in front of your guy that you're marking.
Yeah.
And that's it. But you're not watching this thing develop, and AC Milan is getting just pulled apart. Wherever they needed to open the play, Inter was able to just create that space and move right in like they weren't even there.
And execution in their plays was so fast too. And the long balls, you will see DiMarco with a long ball. You will see even Dumfries with a long ball. And the Thuram's goal was based off a long ball.
Oh yeah,
yeah, just coming in across from a long ball from the right side to him over there by himself.
It looked more like an NFL game.
Yeah,
just like on both sides.
It was so precise.
The ball just going up and over everywhere.
So they had to. The coach should have adjusted defense. So the AC Milan defense was the problem, and it's mad for my boy Pulisic. He's trying to prove something. This year is supposed to be his year, but it's not going well.
Well, and it looks like and he's not playing badly either. And that was a big takeaway as well. Was that like before this game, AC Milan's front three were playing well. Leao is obviously the number one, and Giroud is still magical. If he doesn't have a good game, he's very quiet. Yeah. But usually he's much more aggressive. He's much more creatively minded, and Pulisic will run around like a maniac for you, whether or not the play is there or not.
Yeah.
It seemed more like an off day, because I'm more willing to look at what they've done in the preseason and so far up to this game. I'm not too worried about them producing more goals and chances. But also, that showed how locked down the Inter Milan back line was. I think Bastoni had a pretty good game.
Yeah.
He got beat for the goal from Leao, but Leao is so fast. And actually, it was let me make sure really fast.
Yeah. So especially
Darmian. Darmian was late. Bastoni had to slide in and still almost got something.
Yeah.
You know, like he ended up bowling over Leao. If Leao was just a little bit slower, or if Darmian had a bit more of an edge on him and didn't get burnt so badly, he could have held up that run, and Bastoni would have been there. So
that's why I said these guys they're playing a really good football. But the only thing that I want to watch out, or they should watch out, is defending on counterattacks. Not forgetting they have to get back. Because the Real goal was that, and if you play high level team like City, Bayern, they gotta make sure they capitalize on those type of stuff. So every single counterattack will be a potential goal.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and if it's someone on the wing as well, like if it's City, for example, if that's Grealish on the wing, he's not beat. Well, no, I don't think he's beating him. I think that he might have a bit more of a technical ability to hold up the play and allow for another opportunity.
Yeah.
But Leao is so fast.
Yeah.
That's also the thing. It's like, I don't think that anyone.
He has to slow down a little bit.
Yeah, City doesn't have someone that's that quick on the wing that would have beaten Darmian like that. They could have beaten him in a different way. I still think that City
depending, right? If you sending it to Haaland, if it's Haaland receiving that ball, he will beat.
Yeah,
he will beat.
I was just thinking left winger to left winger in terms of comparison. Like they didn't have that pace over there. It's the fact that Leao is that fast and is that technical on the ball as well.
That's true.
But good game overall. Again, surprising scoreline. I was expecting a bit more of a slower pace.
Yeah,
that's on me.
2-1.
I was expecting a 2-1, something like
2-1,
that.
3-2. You know.
But not that.
As soon as the game started, as soon as I saw that Thuram's goal was, it was telling everyone the sheriff is in town.
It wasn't even a goal. Yeah, and honestly, I think that first goal might have been the tempo setter in a really bad way for AC Milan, because it wasn't one that, like, because certain goals you can concede early on and go, okay, I know exactly, like, we just settle in, it's okay, or like a crazy mistake or a crazy scramble. No. He just walked through and over. Like, that was a very demoralizing way to concede that first goal. Because sometimes it is just a crazy mistake and you go, whoops, okay, moving on. But that one was like, holy shit. Like, this kid is for real, and we've got to deal with him all night. All night. Yeah.
Thuram's going to be a big problem, and I can see how he would develop to take Giroud's position, because Giroud is obviously at that age, and I'm talking about in the French national team. So that's why I said French national team, they have a lot of depth. So I can see him doing great things because his speed, and one thing he did very well was using his body and his physicality. Ooh. Yeah. So Bayern Munich and Bayer Leverkusen, that was a great game.
Yeah, I actually, me, the and I won't get into it, but the manner in which I had to watch the game was as entertaining as the game itself. Very busy day trying to find weird time. It's kind of like a reptile that will sleep for like 5 minutes, and then walk 15 feet and then sleep for another 15 minutes. Yeah, as the way it kind of felt here. But very good game overall. Bundesliga is exciting again.
Well, I actually thought Serie A is coming back. It's getting exciting. I'm talking from the days that I used to watch Serie A religiously, late 90s, and I was born 97, but late 90s and early 2000. That was the most exciting Serie A was for me, and at some point it died. But with what has been happening, the game, the strategy, how different teams try to integrate, move pieces around, it's becoming exciting. And by the way, Inter Milan has beaten Milan AC. That was their fifth consecutive time that would be in any competition. So that was amazing. So same thing for Bundesliga. I don't know if Bundesliga is becoming exciting again. It's always been on average exciting, not exciting. But the great thing, and you were talking about, was that Union Berlin? Forget about them.
Come on, we'll see in the we'll see on Tuesday or Wednesday with Real Madrid.
Okay,
Berlin will put Madrid in their place.
That's a great dream. I'm looking.
They'll put them in their place. I'm thinking 2-1.
2-1. Shoot, Bellingham is gonna walk through them. Another thing is, you thought Bayern Leverkusen is who you thought Union Berlin would have been.
Yeah. Well, and again, Union Berlin's last season was very impressive.
Yeah.
They don't seem to have that this year. And that's not the first time that's happened where, a one-off season.
Same thing with Leicester.
Yeah. Well, and then it was also the fact that Union Berlin were so impressive in the Europa League as well.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing if you perform well in your domestic league because you don't have Europe to get in the way of things. But no, I mean, they played well in two different competitions, two very big competitions. I thought that they would still be carrying something around with them this season. It doesn't seem like that's the case. Leverkusen is the one. Granit Xhaka seems to have made a pretty good impact despite giving away that first goal to Harry Kane. He is still, I think, deceptively pacey. I don't want to say that he's fast.
Yeah.
But you think that he's slow, and if you have ever played as him in FIFA, not that that's the be all, but like slow as shit.
Yeah.
Like wild. But like he does bring a little bit of pace to the game. So what were your overall thoughts on this game?
First of all, my thought is Bayer Leverkusen they were announcing to any team in the Bundesliga that they are the up and coming underdogs. Yes, they are here. Another thing is Victor Boniface, and I told you about this player. Although he did he knows how to position himself, create chances. The only thing I'm mad about him is decision making. So it's the whole Dembele situation. Decision making, that was his skill this game. He could have had 3 goals. But
I counted 8 chances in which he had something that he could have made out of that.
But overall, this is a good player. He had so far 4 goals, 2 assists to his name.
Yeah.
And I think he's coming from the Belgian league. So this guy, he has a lot of potential, and that's one of the guys I'll be watching this year to see his improvement overall.
Gnabry and Sané missed a lot of chances between the two. They weren't that sharp on the finishing side, were they?
No,
not at all.
So there's still a lot of work to do. But one thing that Leverkusen did, I think, at some point Bayern, you couldn't see Bayern in the game. They did a high press, and it was so good to the point where you could watch if you watch the game. They did at least 20 minutes where Bayern couldn't do at least 1-2 pass. So I like the way.
Well, and they were pinching in and pressuring Bayern Munich that already this season have shown that their midfield distribution is not where it should be. Kimmich is a great player, and even his manager thinks highly of him, but for some reason he is not getting it done. And I think having someone on the ball, Goretzka did have a good goal.
Yeah.
And that's not quite agile. It's like they do seem a bit stifled and a bit sticky in the midfield.
I think they kind of expose their midfield. But the one thing, when you play great big clubs like this, this one thing that I like to observe is the composure towards when they are being pressured, right? When Leverkusen executed this high press intensity for at least 20 minutes, there was not, although they were pressured, there was not a time where they fumbled. There was no time where they acted upon being pressured and made a lot of bad decisions and errors. Of course, there was the Leverkusen did a great job, but that's one thing I like about this.
It was more of a stalemate. It was more we're gonna pressure you very highly, and just keep this at a standstill, and try to wear you down, and
So I think the coach got to talk to this Boniface guy, because I feel like they would have beaten this guy, because if you watch the 40th minute, he had the ball, did a cutback inside, trying to score when Wirtz was open, and Wirtz was basically saying, "Hey, I'm here," and if he had just looked around, they could have made something of that situation.
And I don't think that it helped Leverkusen that Kim had a very good game.
No,
I think Kim's played very well so far. Kim Min-jae.
Yeah, he's been Upamecano is very fantastic. Grimaldo was amazing. I think he was the man of the match, and he plays for Leverkusen. There's one wing I want to watch too because he's really good.
I think on Upamecano really fast. I think that because he is so quick for a center back, he is very susceptible to being pulled away. He was pulled
too high.
He was pulled all over the place.
Yes,
and that's the thing. It's like if you almost benefit as a center back from being a bit slower, because that makes you sit back and play safe. If you do have that pace, Upamecano does what Martinez tries to do, which is ride up and use your pace. And try to create fluidity for a forward movement while also trying to get back on the counter. And Upamecano didn't have an awful game, but he did put himself in some positions where the entire team had to kind of work to save him a little bit. He's just a little vulnerable getting pulled away. He's very naive in terms of he might follow a winger a little bit too far out and leave a hole in the middle, or push up to try to intercept the ball and make something creative happen. But he's not as... He had a rougher season last season. He seems to have recovered from the perpetual bad form.
Mm-hmm.
He does still have quite a few mistakes in him, and I do think that his speed kind of makes him think that he can do things that he can't or shouldn't do. I think that he can do those things, but if a team knows that he's willing to do that, it's easy to make him make mistakes thinking that he can succeed in that situation.
I was totally impressed by Nice versus PSG. And I would say this, William might not know this, but Nigeria, they have great set of attackers this time around. So you had Murphy. It's impressive.
Mm-hmm.
That guy, he touched the PSG defense.
Yeah.
And countless time. I mean, what a game. I love that game too.
Here's the question.
Yeah.
I think this is a question that everyone wants to know. Is Mbappe happy? How happy is he right now? He should be so happy right now. He scored 2 goals.
Well, look at this, right? They how will I say this? They play their game. It's all based around Mbappe. So if Mbappe miss a game or don't play, it's gonna go bad for them. Everything is, they count too much on Mbappe. They can't even create their own chances, you know. And let me tell you, Mbappe is phenomenal.
He is.
If he had left PSG, there's no telling. I could see him being a contender for the Ballon d'Or. I'm talking about top 2 next year.
Absolutely.
But because you've seen the game, this guy had to show out again.
Well, it was the most PSG thing in the world as well. That 86th minute goal.
Yeah.
That lob in from Kolo Muani, who great pass in from Muani as well. But that's that little sidewinder kick.
Yeah.
And they still lose. It's like your star player makes an amazing goal,
you know what?
And you still lose to Nice.
You know what?
I love it. It's so PSG. It's perfect.
Like that goal, it made me remember the goal he scored against Argentina, where Kolo Muani just sent. It was basically kind of the same form the goal Mbappe scored. So it was amazing goal. It was an amazing goal.
Vitinha looked awful. Vitinha was pulled everywhere.
Yeah.
Vitinha was making weird passes to no one. He was scrambling to always find the ball. He was always behind. It was pretty shocking to see him perform that way.
I don't know if when you get to this age in soccer or football, it becomes difficult. Dembele, right? Dembele is still the same Dembele. One thing I don't like about Dembele and a lot of people dislike about him is this, right? Poor decision making, and his finishing is awful.
Yeah.
He should have had at least 2 goals in that game.
Yeah.
Or he should have at least had an assist. So that's been his problem, and he hasn't changed. He's more of a liability on average than someone that's helping the team to win.
Yeah.
That's how I see it.
Yeah.
And
I think that it was kind of a little 1-2 punch as well. Like Danilo Pereira looked 1 or 2 steps behind. Always just out of position, like you can tell where he wanted to be. He just wasn't there. But at the same time, Donnarumma is an amazing goalkeeper, isn't he?
Yeah.
He made some amazing saves.
Yeah.
He played very well. And again, that's the most PSG thing in the world. You hire this world-class goalkeeper who makes what 3 or 4 really good saves, and you still lose 3-2 against Nice.
One thing I hate about left and right backs that commit too high is when your central backs are not good, or people are not, when you don't understand how to cover the space. If either CDM is supposed to drop in my position, how is it supposed to be? So. And I say this, and if they play the US in the UCL, they will have the same problem. If you look at the goal, some goals came from Hakimi being too high, and then that space was left open and exposed. So they have to really figure out how they will want to cover the space when these guys are when there's a counterattack.
What about the Zaire Emery kid in the middle of the park? Does that work? He doesn't seem like he and he's young, so it's one of those things. It doesn't seem like he has the ability to dictate pace for offense, and I don't know if that's the guy that you want in the center of the park to dictate how you transition to defense.
Yes.
He seems like he wants to be a bit more attacking minded, and then is always out of position when the counter does happen. And it does not help that Vitinha is in that mix with him. Vitinha looked very lost, and he's not that young. Was he like 25? 24? Something like that. That was a very shocking display. And
23.
23?
Yeah.
And it wasn't that he was making like a ton of obvious mistakes. A lot of it really was just like, what are you doing over there? Why are you over there right now?
Yeah.
And then, of course, he gave the ball away 2 or 3 times with bad passes. Like, he did have a couple of things that were very on the nose, bad performance, bad night, shake it off, but he was consistently in the most curious positions to take himself out of the defensive transition, but also not be anywhere near an attacking threat either. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, there's Murphy is very good. I mean that I think that's that assist. Oh man.
Yeah.
Where it was assist to Laborde, and Laborde played a very good game. From the left to the right, I think they were fairly equal, but they attacked PSG more on the right side. And you can tell because Murphy's goal came from the right side. I think his first goal, and the assist came from the right side too. And where he just kind of dribbles in the defense there, I call him the Fox box because he attacked that box. They attacked that box consistently.
Is that the one where Hernandez was guiding in coverage, right? And Skriniar just comes in and pinches up really high out of nowhere. And essentially started playing in the exact position where Hernandez was, instead of letting Hernandez hand him off the way that he needed to go.
That's exactly. And he just dribbled and just passed it just at that slightly open angle.
Yeah.
And Laborde put it in. So
PSG are so oddly inconsistent as well, and that's the frustrating thing. Like, Danilo Pereira had a bad game overall.
Yeah.
But for that first PSG goal in the 73rd minute, great deep pass to Mbappe over the top. Like, they can do... It just feels like everybody but Mbappe and Donnarumma are very one-dimensional.
Yes.
They do one thing well. So...
they're so very consistent.
Danilo gives that great long pass. Excellent. Why the fuck are you so out of position on defense? Like, can you make those passes and then just stay in a defensive position properly? Like, why are you making these mistakes if you can do that? They're different skill sets.
Yeah.
But if that's what you do, these deep lob passes, you need to be like a defensive midfielder. We don't need it, but you don't have the pace for that.
Yeah.
Or the quick dribbling and the passes to get out of sticky situations. They're just very limited in what they can and can't do consistently.
This week's striker for me was Murphy. The reason is because he had the cleanest I've seen from a striker standpoint of view. You have your Erling Haaland, this a pure goal scorer. I'm talking about the guy who makes the guy who makes the goalkeepers to shiver and tremble. But in terms of just complete striker, Murphy for me this week, because he had the dribbling skills, he had the pace, the positional play, he had the creating the space, he had the strike and the shooting ability. He had it all.
Yeah.
and I haven't seen a striker like that in a while. Actually,
yeah.
So
every time he had the ball, it looked like a threat.
Very dangerous. Yeah, it was either a possibility or a threat. So I like his style of play. I'm really interested to see what he would do all this season. So that's my striker. And the best goal of this week is Thuram. Do you have any power rankings? I didn't even think about it.
I did my power rankings. Yeah.
But I think I got a top 5 in my head.
That's fine. I'm used to you just criticizing mine anyway. I'm used to you not making your list and just talking shit on mine. So we'll do the top 10. So at number 1, still have Manchester City. 3-1 over West Ham. That looked good. Especially for them being a top 6 team, right?
Top 6.
Top 6. Second, even though the score line it's still tight, but a win is a win. Real Madrid.
Okay.
Third, Inter Milan have to be there.
Okay.
They have to be getting up there. They took the spot of Bayern for that 2-2 draw. Bayern doesn't need to go down too far because Leverkusen have been playing that well, so they're at number 4. Tottenham's ability to come back. Tottenham's at number 5. They're playing surprisingly well.
Yeah.
6, Liverpool. 3-1 expected, but they're consistent. Defense is still a little shaky. Impressive score line from Barcelona, so they're at number 7. 8, I have Arsenal. Very sloppy game from both sides, but a win is still a win. And then number 9, which realistically should be number 8 now that I'm looking at it, was Brighton.
Yeah.
For beating the absolute pants off of Manchester United.
Oh my goodness.
And then at number 10, they had to make their way into the top 10, and I don't see them leaving anytime soon. At 10, I have Leverkusen.
All right. Yeah. Now we're talking.
Who are you expecting?
Who was I expecting? West Ham.
West Ham. Yeah.
I can see them.
The 3-1 loss. They still played well. Yeah. But that took them off. But I see them getting back in. Just like I see Leverkusen sticking around. I see Brighton sticking around. I see, even if they get wins, but they're unconvincing, I can see Arsenal dropping out of this top 10 that I've built.
Yeah.
Eventually, I'll see Liverpool probably come down a tiny bit. I do see their defensive shakiness.
Yeah.
Creating a bit of a
I'll go for top 5, so that will be City. Just based on this week, right? That will be City.
Well, it's based on this week, but also
overall.
You think consistent form, and then my thing is that the size of the club and then the level that they're playing at, which is why Leverkusen's up there now.
So I would say City first for me. Second will be Inter Milan because actually they've been all this season they've been playing great.
Yeah.
Our third will be I'll put Bayern Munich. That's third. Then fourth will be I'll actually put Tottenham at 4th position.
Okay. Yeah. Wow.
And 5th position will be Barcelona.
Ooh.
Real Madrid will be dropping at 6 because Barcelona 5-0 Real Betis. That was a walk in the park.
I get it.
So I think like that, but the rest
for me though, like a win, even if it's not a convincing win, isn't enough for someone to drop out of the top 10 completely for me. For Madrid.
Yeah.
So really, I should have probably had them at 3rd.
Yeah.
And had Inter come up because of that win.
Yeah.
But because Madrid still won, they can't drop that much for me, at least in terms of how I build this thing.
Okay.
And again, maybe we have a whole episode where we just criticize how we consider our power rankings to function. Fine. You want to start talking about the Champions League lineup this week, or what do you want to do?
Well, what game am I actually excited to watch? What game are you excited to watch?
I think that. So on Tuesday, we've got some interesting ones. We've got 2 big ones. And I imagine these are 2 of the ones that we're going to talk about because we can't talk about every matchup.
No.
But I would say AC Milan and Newcastle. We'll have to talk about that.
Yeah.
And then PSG and Dortmund. Have to talk about that one. And then you have Barcelona and Antwerp.
Yeah.
Manchester City and Svidza.
Okay.
Atletico Madrid and Lazio, which I could see being entertaining.
It seems like it's going to be a high defensive game.
I could see that, or I could see a sloppy shootout.
Yeah.
I don't know how it would work exactly, but yes, Atletico Madrid are not the most exciting, and Lazio do have some mistakes in them at times.
Yeah.
On Wednesday, this will be an interesting one. I'm going to simulcast this one.
Ooh.
Paramount Plus allows you to watch 2 games at once, so you just separate your eyeballs and you try to grow a second brainstem to function all this. Bayern Munich and Manchester United.
Okay.
Arsenal and PSV. Real Madrid and my boys Union Berlin. Again, another underrated matchup: Inter Milan and Real Sociedad.
Oh,
that sounds interesting.
Yeah.
We might have to talk about that one, even though we might not watch the full match on that one. And then Napoli and Sporting Braga, which should be easy for Napoli, but they're not playing their best at the moment.
Yeah,
I could see that being not a big test, as in this is a win or lose scenario, but like, hey boys, let's get back to form. Let's pick this back up because we've not been doing the best that we could lately.
On Tuesday, 2 exciting games for me. Paris Saint-Germain, Borussia Dortmund, just because I want to see.
That's a must-watch.
Yeah, I want to see Dortmund testing PSG. I want to see what PSG can bring. That's new.
Yep.
And that's going to be a good test for them.
PSG is shaky at the moment, and Dortmund seem more than happy drawing. Most of their games now.
So, well, for PSG, it's gonna be something to think about if they lose or if they win. So depending on how the game goes, so it's gonna be an interesting one. The next one on Tuesday will be. Actually, I'm excited to watch. Tuesday doesn't really have, apart from PSG Dortmund, there's not really
AC Milan and Newcastle.
Yeah, but. I guess we can do that. Newcastle is playing great. Don't get me wrong, but AC Milan, Newcastle. Well, I'm also excited to watch that. I guess I'll see how that game goes. But on Wednesday, the game that I really want to watch is Bayern Munich, Manchester United, because I want to see. And this will be the game that might or might not, make all United fans and the coach and the coaching staff ask them what the hell is wrong with this team. If they lose,
to Bayern 3-0, is Ten Hag gone? When does that happen?
They're gonna lose so bad because Bayern Munich is not gonna play, and then they need to recover from the draw. And so that's one game I'm really excited to see, just to see the dynamic of the play, just to see how things will turn out. And Bayern Munich will be testing Manchester United from all ways, shape, form.
Yeah, so, I don't see anyone in that front line of United, especially with how poorly they're getting distribution from the midfield, getting anywhere past Kim and Jae.
They should watch out on the left side because Anthony Davis is not going to be playing any game. So that would be. But apart from it, those are really the games I'm really excited to watch. The rest, I just feel like the score is already there. Real Madrid, Union Berlin, that's just training for
Madrid. No, one thing about the Bayern United game that I just really Alphonso Davies and Diogo Dalot will be on the same side of the pitch. That'll be good.
Oh yeah.
That'll be interesting to see.
I want to see that matchup too.
That'll be interesting to see because they're both playing very well right now.
Okay, that is true. Yeah, I want to see, but I feel like Alfonso might have the edge just because of how quick
100%.
he is, and
definitely.
This is gonna be an eye opener for. I guess they haven't opened their eyes yet. I don't know, but this one will be an eye opener for Manchester United.
Yeah, this is a fun opening week.
Oh, definitely.
This is a good one. This is a good one.
It's a way to tell everyone what's good, what's not working. So either you catch it now or you never catch it, and you waste all the season. But as far as I'm concerned, those are the games I'm really excited to watch. By the way, everyone listening to this podcast should go and subscribe, and we have we will have all our social media links listed above. And you should go and subscribe and follow or whatever.
Like, share, subscribe. Give us that 5-star review on Spotify. Seriously, it is mythical.
Oh, for real.
It's like an Arthurian fairy tale. It's like Excalibur. No, they're very much sought after for some reason. I still don't know the exact reason, but
nice.
Podcasts bigger than us talk about the 5-star reviews, so please give us the 5-star reviews. And we will see you probably Thursday morning.
Yes.
No, Friday morning.
Friday morning. Yeah.
Still deciding if we want to upload the Champions Leagues on the Thursday after recording or set him for a morning release. I'm still leaning more toward the morning
release.
Seems to work well for everybody else. So we will see you guys on Friday morning.
Bye.
Goodbye.